Hi everyone, my name is Ben Hogue. I am the AP Environmental Science teacher here at Oviedo High School. I just want to say thanks for your interest in our program, and I'm going to go through a couple slides and just explain what the course is all about, hopefully answer any sort of questions you might have or expectations of what the course might entail. But if not, you are more than welcome to reach out to me over email. My email is right there on that first slide, and I would be more than happy to help you with anything that I don't address in this video today. So first of all, what is environmental science? It's an interdisciplinary field that involves your traditional sciences like biology, chemistry, oceanography, and geology, but it also includes a lot of human sciences as well, anthropology, history, political science, ethics, as well as looking at impacts on our economy. And so in this course, we'll study all of these things together and try and see how our different actions as humans impact not only the world around us but other species, and then hopefully come up with potential solutions for environmental problems that are occurring today and could potentially happen in the future. So what are the course goals? Obviously the first goal is to just pass the AP exam. That's number one because you're taking an AP course. You can get free college credit, which is great. We pay for you to take the exam, and all you have to do is go and take it, and you can get free college credit. But beyond that, the biggest thing that I really like to focus on is just encouraging individuals to learn more about the environment around us and to come away with a knowledge of how everything interacts, and then hopefully a respect for the world at large as they go into adulthood and making different decisions throughout the future. The AP exam is in May. It's split up into two different parts. The first part is multiple choice. The second part is free response. The multiple choice section is going to be 80 multiple choice questions over an hour and a half, and it will count for 60% of the overall grade. And then the second portion is a free response section. There are 3 free response sections, and these count for 40% of the overall grade. And then over the summer, AP graders will go through the tests. They'll grade the free response, and typically as long as you get a score of somewhere around a 55%, that's a 3, which is passing. 65% is usually somewhere around a 4, which is great, and a 5 is around 75%. So as long as you can get somewhere in those ranges, you pass the AP exam and you can get college credit for it. So what exactly are we going to talk about in this course? There are 9 major topics or units that are outlined by the College Board and AP exam. And so I'm just going to talk about each of them a little bit. So the first unit is all about different ecosystems. So we're talking about the different types of biomes, both aquatic and terrestrial, in the world around us, and the different organisms they support. We'll talk a lot about ecosystem services. These are specific things that are given to us for free by the natural functioning of different ecosystems. So things like wetlands, for instance, give us clean drinking water. We have different areas around the world like the rainforests that increase our biodiversity and have an area for habitat for a lot of different organisms, but also is a big carbon sink where it stores carbon permanently and also cleans our air for us. Unit 2 will focus on biodiversity. So a lot of this will be talking about why it is important for us to have many different niches filled with different organisms within our communities, talking about the interrelationships between different organisms, classifying them as being different levels of consumers or producers, how nutrients and energy is recycled within our ecosystems, and how everything is interlocking because of biodiversity that is going on around the world. Our third unit will focus on populations, most specifically human population. As we get further and further into the century, we believe that human population will be somewhere close to 10 billion, 9 to 10 billion by the year 2050. And so a lot of this unit will focus on how do we go forward in a sustainable manner so that we can not only ensure that we don't degrade the environment too much, but we also need to make sure that people can have functioning and healthy lives. And so how do we ensure that everyone around the world has enough drinking water and enough food as well as space to live the lifestyles that they want to live without us overusing all of our resources so that future generations don't have any. The fourth unit will talk all about Earth systems. So understanding how the Earths interact with one another, talking about the different plate tectonics. We'll talk about things of the nature of nutrient cycling and biogeochemistry, how the nutrients are going to be recycled around the world, how we have different global wind patterns that interact with one another. So how basically we here in one part of the world might pollute an area, but because all of our different systems are interlaced and interworking with one another, it might impact other cultures and other countries around the world at the same time. Unit 5 is going to focus on land and water usage. So we'll talk a lot about agriculture, as well as talk about the way we zone different properties and how we try and make sure that we're using the best possible use for our landscapes, so that we're not disrupting ecosystems overall, but we're also getting out of it the different things that we need from those ecosystems at the same time. Unit 6 will focus primarily on energy, renewable and non-renewable energy. We'll talk a lot about our fossil fuels and the reasons why they're so cheap and why we use them so readily, but also some of the ramifications of those actions. What are the potential outcomes if we continue to use the fossil fuels at the rate we are now and don't swap or begin to swap and invest in renewables in the future? We'll talk about things like our energy grid. We'll talk about economies of scale and subsidies and how those impact our energy usage on a daily basis. And then Unit 7, we'll talk primarily about air pollution. So we'll talk a lot about climate change here with air pollution from things like CO2, but we'll also look at other air pollutants as well, indoor and outdoor. We'll talk about particulate matter. We'll talk about sulfur getting into the atmosphere and causing things like acid rain. We'll also talk about how excess CO2 can then cause ocean acidification in our oceans and our water bodies, and how that impacts things like coral bleaching, which really leads us into kind of Unit 8. Unit 7 and 8 are very related to one another, right? They're all just all about pollution. Air pollution in Unit 7, Unit 8 is land and water pollution. And so there we'll focus on a lot of the ways that we impact the land and the water when we are doing things like spraying pesticides or herbicides, or if we are over fertilizing our different crops, how runoff fertilizers can lead to things like algal blooms and lead to large fish kills or dead zones in our oceans, which can impact our potential food supply and our aquaculture. And a lot of these topics come up very frequently in Florida. So many of these things the students are probably familiar with events that happen in Florida. And then the last unit we'll talk about global changes. And this is focused a lot about how basically everything that we're doing is on a very global scale now because of globalization. And so the amount of pollutants that we put into the environment, CO2, which leads to climate change, habitat loss because of things like deforestation, as well as emerging pathogens and diseases, which is a very real topic right now, and invasive species, and how they're all interlinked with one another, and how all the decisions that we make have huge impacts on these things in the future. And so what we'll talk about are what those impacts are, and then the potential ways in which we can hopefully solve them or minimize those impacts for future generations. So AP Environmental Science, or APES, at Oviedo. I guess just a little bit about myself so that you know a little bit about me. I went to the University of Florida. I got my bachelor's in environmental science and my master's in soil and water science. I really enjoy just talking about this stuff, so it works out well. They pay me to do it. I worked down in the Everglades. If you've never been there, it's a really cool ecosystem. Definitely go. I worked with fire ecology and nutrient cycling down there. After that, I worked for UF and IFAS, which is the agriculture extension that UF provides for the state, basically working with farmers across the state. One of my roles with UF and grad school was education and teaching, and I found that that was my favorite part, and so now I'm a full-time teacher. I've been teaching APES here at Oviedo for 5 years, and also fun fact, my birthday is Earth Day, so clearly I should be teaching this. Our pass rates are really good. I'm really proud of them. The students do really well. They study hard and work hard all year. This is a hard course. In terms of the pass rate, we're like the second lowest pass rate out of all the APs. Physics is the only one that's considered to be harder. The national pass rate is usually just less than 50%. Here at Oviedo, we're hovering just below 60%, so hopefully we can go over that. But we're always ranked top 3 in the county the years I've been teaching, so that's fantastic. And to just kind of give you an idea of what a typical unit's going to look like, we have those 9 units, and we'll primarily I lecture. What I do is I take all the different course materials from the different publishers, and I combine basically everything into lecture notes. So it's not only information from the textbook we have at school, but also all the other textbooks that the students don't have access to. I usually give a few assignments per unit. I try to do 1 to 2 labs, COVID permitting, and then there are extra credit quizzes that go into bumping up unit tests that go along with all of these units. The biggest things when it comes to trying to be successful in APES is that essentially, as long as you are doing all your work, you can be successful in my class. I have a variety of students that take this course. I have students who have never taken an AP, and I have students who have taken, like, this is their 15th one, and equally have the same amount of chance of passing that AP exam at the end of the year. I don't see any sort of difference between those two groups. It's a topic that really relates to anybody, whether you are taking all APs or this is your first ever. In the past 5 years, I've only had 3 students who have done all their work, who have gotten and received or earned less than a B in the course itself. So the key really to being successful in my class is doing all your work. The tests themselves are difficult. If you ask students from previous years, they're going to tell you that. I model my tests after the AP exam, and so test averages are usually in the 60s because that's actually a 4 on the AP exam and really good. But obviously I can't give everyone a 60, and so to bump up those test grades, I have extra credit quizzes that are built into the course that allow the students to earn up to 20 points added to their test scores for every single unit. And so that bumps that D average up to a B average for tests, and that makes it more manageable for success in this course. The quizzes themselves, I give the students the questions at the beginning of the unit, and I say, this is what we're learning about this week. We'll have a quiz on Friday. And so on Friday, then I ask them at random a couple of those questions, and as long as they paid attention in the class throughout the week, they should know the answers. So I don't have a lot of people struggling with those to get that extra credit that they need. In terms of what do you want to do with this career? Why might this be beneficial for you? The most common jobs for AP Environmental Science are being an environmental scientist, studying things with the environment, or teaching it. But there are also other specialized or unique jobs that go along with environmental science. You can minor in environmental science. You can go into environmental engineering. You can do consultant work. There are environmental law degrees that you can get as well. You can go into forestry, work for national parks. You can incorporate this into being an environmental reporter or even a toxicologist for those of you who want to go into medicines or studying emerging pathogens. We talk about that a lot at the end of the year as well. So there's just a lot of cool and interesting different fields that you go into. I've had a lot of students in the past tell me that they, some of them have gone into environmental studies, but a lot of them have majored it or minored in it just as something to do on the side because they just really enjoy the topic. But don't take my word for it. Here are just a couple different quotes from students who are in my class this year. They offered some advice for students in the future if they want to take the course. Ms. Wagner up there basically said that the tests are hard. As long as you study, you'll be fine, but the topics are interesting. Aiden pointed out that this is a general earth space science course, and that as long as you are focused and do your work, you can be successful, and it's an AP class, so it boosts your GPA, which is fantastic. I find that a lot of the students like the topics. Because each unit is unique, it allows for pretty much everyone to get something out of the course that they enjoy. They don't build off they build off one another a little bit, but for the most part, they are entirely different and separate units. And so you may not like all of them, but you'll definitely find a topic that you're going to enjoy throughout the year. And I think that's what makes this class so unique and really interesting and a lot of fun. So if you have any more questions, or you're concerned about anything, or you want to know more about the course, feel free to shoot me an email, and I will be more than happy to help you out. Thanks for watching this, and I hope you have a great day.